Hello everyone, I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with the Thursday evening live stream. And there's already some comments up here, and I am doing better. It's something that's going to take quite a bit of time, so I'll tell everybody, I give everybody an update on the hour when we officially get started. Let's see. Lemonade. Somebody's making lemons in the backyard. My dad, who lived in Southern California most of his life, had a lemon tree, very prolific lemon tree in the backyard. And so he was constantly making lemonade. It was supposed to have been an orange tree, but it turned out to be a lemon tree. So, and my sister would make these lemon cakes where she'd get the cake baked and then poke a million holes in it with a fork and pour lemon juice over it. And just go in and soak everything. There must have been some sugar in there too. Oh boy, was that cake good. I tell you, it really make your mouth water. Those were the lemons. Yeah, well, hello Stuart Perry, and welcome to the live show. We're just barely getting underway here. And let's see. Yes, I'm getting better. Had a conversation today with a hematologist. One of the problems is my body doesn't seem to be making replacement blood, and hence the numbers are staying low. So they're looking at these weird interactions between systems to see what could be done about it. So I'll be going down to the hospital and having more tests. You know, it seems ironic. I'm really short of blood. I have about half the blood I should have right now. And so what do? They keep telling me to put out my arms so they can take more away. Oh, golly. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I just really was too sick to do the live stream. I got out of the hospital on the 20th, and so had gotten home, and I was hanging pretty close to bed. There are no longer Saturday live streams. There haven't been in quite a while. I just can't do it twice a week, so I've cut that back, but I will try to make a video every day. Luke says, yes, yellow cake. Yellow cake, of course, is uranium ore, concentrated uranium ore. And thank you, Sid. Yeah, trying to do better. Hello from the far west area of Missouri. Glenn, welcome back. 3-year-old twins love eating lemons. You know, there are people who do that. Oxygen-free Dave. I do have an oxygen machine right here. If I'm sitting, I'm okay. My numbers are okay. If I stand up and start moving around, they're not okay anymore. So this little portable oxygen unit is my ball and chain. I've got a main oxygen concentrator in the bathroom by the bedroom that I use for the nighttime oxygen that goes with my CPAP machine. Yeah, that lemon cake, I got to tell you, it was my sister's specialty. Philadelphia Airport. Well, James. Yeah. We had a grafted tree in the backyard, and this young boy bore oranges on one side and lemons on the other. Rheumatology? No, actually it was hematology. Hematology is the study of blood. And this doctor, she's actually at the local cancer center because I guess mostly she deals with leukemia. But there are all kinds of weird feedback loops and things like that in the body that have to do with making replacement blood. So, yeah, Uruguay, Jose, CX5BDE, hello there. David, thank you. Yes, I am doing better. Back on Thursday nights, yeah. Wasilla, Alaska, Nova Scotia. Aloha 73 from the North Shore of Oahu. I think that is near the Polynesian Cultural Center, which I had the opportunity to visit in 1973 when I was coming home from my Mormon mission to the Philippines. Stop there. Nova Scotia, Wasilla, Alaska. Okay. Wow, people from all over here. Boulder Creek, California. Kalamazoo, Michigan. What antennas do I have at my QTH? Well, my permanent antenna is vertical. It is a step IR, big IR, 80 through 10, I think 10. And it works great. I mean, it's fabulous. I've got about 30 radials on it. And it's just absolutely a fabulous antenna. And I use it as the standard for measuring others. I have another installation that is de facto permanent, which is the MFJ hex beam, 20 through 6. Well, I think it's 20 through 10, actually. And it's 20 feet up. By the way, the vertical is ground mounted. This antenna is about 20 feet up. And I was really careful when I put it in, and I think that installation is going to last a long time. I also have two poles set about 75 feet apart, and that's for antenna testing. The antenna that I have up there right now is the MFJ 17754 or 17554. I think it's 17754, which is a 8040 trapped dipole. On the ground, under the snow, is the reference antenna, which is the MFJ 2040, which is a off-center fed dipole that covers 40, 20, 10, and 6. The 40 and 20 are of interest, although I have heard people have been sending me stories about the DX they're starting to get on the upper bands. The bands are starting to open up for the new sunspot season, and that's really great. Now I also have one more antenna out there, the Alpha Delta DX-EE antenna, which is a trapped 2040, trapped 2040, plus a 15-meter element plus a 10-meter element in a fan dipole arrangement. So it's kind of a hybrid antenna. Harry, thank you very much for starting off this evening's chat revenue, for adding to the channel funds. One of the problems with YouTube, of course, is their algorithm for judging whether they should recommend your channel. Most of my views are because YouTube has recommended that particular video to somebody to view. I actually have a higher percentage of views are from non-subscribers than subscribers. I need to put more of a push on getting subscribers, I guess. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do that. You can do that on the channel page. or down in the corner, if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, there's a little OG symbol there. If you click on that, it will subscribe you to the channel. YouTube judges channels by the number of subscribers, but they also judge by recent activity. If you only put up a video once a week, your channel doesn't count for as much if you put up a video every day. And I had been doing that for quite a while, putting up a video every day. And then I had all of these hospital troubles, and my revenue from the advertising has just plummeted. So I'm trying to get that going back, because if I have the channel funds, which I get from the YouTube advertisements, and the Patreon, and the tip jar, and the recurring tip jar, all add to the channel income, and that helps me do a lot of things. I will admit I do dip into there for flying lessons, although not in November. But also it helps pay for, like when I bought the radio, and let's see, MFJ sent me the 2010 and the 17754 when I talked to them about the problem I was having with these trapped antennas not covering the whole band. I did buy the DX. I paid for about 2/3 of the step IR antenna. Had a little visitor last night. We had a bear come through. I don't know what a bear is doing out at this time of the year. They should be hibernating. But this bear came through, and with one swat took down a bird feeder that had been standing for 17 years. Took it down and discovered the bird feeder was empty. We haven't put bird feed in that bird feeder in years. Well, on that same pole was my MFJ receive-only antenna. So that went down on the ground. So I'm going to have to go out and salvage that. Hello to Texas, Tennessee. Topic for tonight is answering questions, as usual. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Live in an apartment looking at alpha loop. What do I think of loops? Loops are finicky, but they'll work just as well as a dipole. I have an MFJ loop. It's their 100-watt loop, the one that covers 40 through 15. And it's on the roof. It's not connected to anything right now because I only have 6 lightning arresters. So I don't have it brought into here. I've got the controller for it right up there. I have heard rumors they're going to come out with a better controller that will be automatic. It will find the frequency you're on. It will remember where that is and tune it in. That would be wonderful. The antenna is only about this big around, and it works really well. There are from Chameleon and from other people some loops, but you have to be there to turn the knob. So they're best for portable operation. And you can use them, if you're going down to the park or something like that, because you got to be there to tune it. There's also a wonderful little tuning indicator that came from the guy down in Brazil that makes loop antennas that he sells up here in the States. Let's see. Will it really give a low SWR all the way across the bands? No, not a loop. No. It'll give you low SWR plus or minus about 15 kilohertz. And if you move to another part of the band, you've got to retune. That's why I say they're finicky. But they will give you as much connection to the airwaves as a dipole. Preferably out in the open. Some people put them on their balconies. I've even seen people who attach them so that they're kind of hanging out from the balcony. And and then that you will have to go from there. Russell, thank you for your prayers. Said that 4-letter word, snow. Yeah, there is snow on the ground. It's patchy. It's been about a week since we had our last snowstorm. And Stephen Brannon is going to test for general this weekend. Congratulations to you. Good luck. And let's see. Russell Romaine, send blessings from Kansas. Benjamin Otto is continuing to work on his Morse code, having trouble distinguishing 4 and V. Da-da-da-da. Think of da-da-da-da as that classical music piece. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, you know. It's, I forget who it is. But it will come with time. Stuart, thank you very much for contributing to channel funds. I enjoy your videos. I actually thought you were talking about antennas one day. I am, and tomorrow's video is going to be about an antenna. I had a reader, or an Augie, write to me and give me some pictures of his antenna. It's a super antennas vertical. And had very good things to say about it. So I asked him if I could make a video out of that. And he said yes, and so that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. He sent me a bunch more pictures. And if anybody else has something that they think is interesting or unique about your station, or was a problem that was really hard to solve but they got on top of it, let me know. And, send me some pictures. I might be able to make a video about it, and then your name will be in lights there. Patagonia, Chile, Queensland, Australia on 10 meters this past week. Yeah, the bands are open. They're opening up now. And they're going to get better and better and better for about 2 or 3 years. Bear was participating in a peaceful protest. Oh, it was not peaceful. It was not peaceful. He ripped that thing down and just splintered that old piece of redwood that I had there. I would hardly call that a peaceful protest. Standing by the thing and howling, I think, would be a peaceful protest. Hi, Sean. Good to see you there. Bad luck with wildlife and antennas. I've got some good antennas. Any advice on shack RFI? Grounding. Okay. Ground all your cables to a ground rod before they come into the house. The shields, the outer shields. The easiest way to do that is with a lightning arrestor. Okay, single point ground for your shack down to that ground rod. Connect that ground rod to your utility ground rod with a wire outside the house. Okay, grounding. The other thing that will move is kind of moving cables around. I once solved a problem I had by put the ham station here, the computer here, and all the computer cables are over here. All the ham radio cables are over here. So that really helped. And we have a hello from India. And, yes, my article in QST, in the November QST on radio math. And there are some errors in that. So go to dcasler.com/imaginary. That's /imaginary. And it will take you to a corrected copy of the article. Okay, need to make a new 80-meter dipole. What would be easiest way to make it work on 160? Traps, loading coils? You'd probably, I don't know. It's going to be a dipole. You can add loading to it to get it into 160. It'll be a pretty good sized coil. Do you know about online testing for license upgrades? I know it is available. It is available. I do not have a specific place to point you for that. So if somebody does have a specific place to point people for online tests, let me know. I can do a video about it, and I can put it here. Okay, Beethoven's Fifths. Yes, there you go. All right, 4-to-1 ballon. Well, make a loop. From dirt ground, what's the best height for an 11-meter half-wave inverted V dipole? Well, take 468 and divide it by 27 megahertz. 468 divided by 27 will give you, in feet, a half-wave height, a half-wave length. Okay. RFI goes away if you ground properly and run resonant antennas. Yeah, it really does help. Should I install a ground rod if I can't connect it to the utility rod? Yes, you should. Like button, yes. Been doing good. All right. Well, it is time to begin. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG from Ridgway, Colorado, where it is 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's minus something Celsius. And welcome to this evening's live stream. A little update on my health. I'm feeling better. I can go for short periods without oxygen, such as when I'm sitting and not moving around a lot. I can go without oxygen. Otherwise, I've got oxygen with me here. We live at 7,000 feet, which complicates the oxygen factor. I spoke with a hematologist today, who's a blood doctor down at the cancer center, who must deal mostly with leukemia. And she had some interesting hypotheses, and we're going to try them out by doing some lab tests coming up. The problem is that my body has about half the amount of blood it should, half the amount of red cells that it should. And the bones don't seem to be making much. So we're going to try and figure that out. She says there's a chemical train of events that needs to lead to the bone making more blood. So she's going to look basically at every step in that chemical chain and find out what isn't working and see if we can get it working again. So that is really good. So I'm trying to do a video every day. Some of the video, the one I did yesterday, it was a little something about radians, which is a different way to measure parts of a circle. And one, I think my favorite comment was, "Okay, I watched it, huh?" So we don't use radians in ham radio, so we use frequency. So, by the way, the number of radians per second is 2 pi times f, where f is the frequency in hertz. Okay, all right. Let's see, GLAARG or hamstudy.org/sessions. Okay, I'll have to take a look at those. Can you use 1/4 and 3/8 copper pipe for grounding instead of bars or straps? Yeah, you can. It'd be a heck of a lot cheaper than the straps, I know. Get wider bandwidth with my DXCC than with my AV680. SWR not good. Oh, that's interesting. Now the 680 will work on 80 meters, but only about 15 to 25 kilohertz of it. In other words, just a very tiny sample of it. It'll cover all of 40, and it ignores 60. So that's the problem with vertical antennas, commercial vertical antennas on 80. You only get a small part. Now with this vertical, the Step IR, it has a large loading coil for 80 that's got 5 taps on it. So it taps the right part for the frequency that you're on. And does a very nice job. It covers all of 80 that way. Okay, hamstudy.org. Okay, great. I used a 1 to 2 Ballon 80 meter dipole at 10 feet of coast to coast. Good. Yeah. Looking better. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit. Yeah. Don't push yourself. I'm not. I'm probably sleeping 12 hours a day or more. Just recuperation. You have to do that. Okay, let's pick up some of the questions. Okay, come on. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go here, and we'll go to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. Okay, now I must tell you that I'm so far behind on these questions, I may not get to them all. There's 90 of them here that have been accumulating. If you would like to get your question answered, send it to hamradioanswers@gmail.com or go to KE0OG.net/ask-Dave. Okay? And that's where most people go in at the ask-Dave. Now, if you want to send me pictures, you're going to have to go in through the hamradioanswers@gmail.com. Now, I do not look at that address every day. I use it for collecting questions. One thing I know, there are people who occasionally ask me a very specific question. What they want is consulting. And I can't. I just don't have the time. Some have even offered to pay me. I'm not a professional engineer. I am an engineer, but I'm not a professional engineer in the eyes of the state. So I can't really do paid consulting. And so I try to answer questions here for everybody. So, and I'm going to take them in the order received, the most recent received first. So this one is from Rick, and for Echo Alpha Oscar. Just getting back into ham radio, decided to just focus on 10 meters. Well, 10 meters is starting to open up, but you're only going to see it open up during the daytime, usually. And somebody told me they found an opening into the evening. But now at morning and evening, you've got gray line, but during the day, it might be open too. Ordered a radio from Les Comms knowing it would take time to get it improved. That order was on 9/4/2019, still waiting. Was I a complete fool to have ordered through him? I don't know. I've never heard of Les Comm. Has anybody else heard of Les Comm? Says, by the way, I'm a private pilot and the best moment is flying was that first solo flight. I'm this close to soloing. My instructor said I have to get more consistent on landings. I can't just every third one be a beautiful landing. It's got to be everyone has got to be a beautiful landing. So I'd be there by now, I'm sure, if it hadn't been for this big medical thing. By the way, the airplane is in good hands. For some reason, the tach stopped working, so the people up at the fixed base operator are taking a look at that right now. And airplanes need to be flown, so I told my flight instructor, take it up once or twice a month, just to take it up, have fun. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the gas. You can use the airplane. Just go have fun. I'm hoping that, in another few weeks, maybe I can get back to flying by early next year. Okay, so I don't know anything about Les Comm. Why don't we look it up on Les Comm? Lester's Custom Truck Shop. Les Comm Kits. Les Comm. Looks like CB oriented stuff. I'm very sorry, Rick, that I can't answer your question. Okay, so we'll take care of that one, and this one is KE5ZZO. Not a ham radio related directly, but electronics. Any ham way to find a burned out light bulb in a string of holiday lights? For example, radio antenna to pick up AC present. I don't think you're going to get much because it's only 60 hertz. I'm assuming that these lights are in series and one bum light makes the whole thing go out. My recommendation would be to go get some LED lights. They're not expensive, they last forever, they don't burn out, and they're prettier. Because the blue ones, especially, the blue lights and the old incandescent Christmas lights, the incandescent bulbs really don't put out very much blue light. And so the blue lights always look dark. But when you get the LED bulbs, the blue lights are just as sparkly as all the rest. We gave up on our old Christmas lights and chucked them and got new LED lights. And they work really well. And they're not expensive. Not expensive. I'd say get rid of the frustration. Just get rid of them and get yourself some LED lights. Okay. This one is from Kevin Zabo. No call sign yet. Has a Hammerlund, which is an old vintage radio. HQ129X with a strange issue. It gets stations. Sounds great, but only on some of the stronger ones. The weak ones that come in as a hissy bump while band scanning also come with an unusual surprise. WWV is on all of them except the highest band. No other stations do this. There's a local AM station that I can blast from my front end off the scale, but I only hear it on 1450. But WWV everywhere? I know I need a new watch, but I've never seen this before. I have equipment to align it, and that's what it sounds to me like it needs. And I've done a tweak, and it was already pretty okay. Got any tips on how to get WWV? I don't know where you live. WWV broadcasts from Fort Collins in Colorado, also from Hawaii. And if you're in real near Fort Collins, you might just be getting fundamental overload. One of the things you can do about that is to get a loop receive antenna and aim the null of the loop at the WWV transmitter. Now, otherwise, you've got something in there that's stuck on WWV. Some of those boat anchors would put in an accessory to where you could flip a switch and get WWV. It's possible that circuit is somehow constantly activated, a bad switch or something like that. The problem with these boat anchor rigs is it's very, anything could be wrong. You probably need to recap the thing, put in new capacitors, especially the power supply caps. Yes, it's going to need an alignment, but go through and check all the switch contacts. Use, let's see, what is that? Deoxit. Deoxit is the name of it. It's contact cleaner on all of the switches and see if that doesn't help. I think you've got more than a little work to do on this radio to make it work. Okay, the next one comes from Paul, W3PWF. I was wondering which is better in your opinion, direct sampling or superheterodyne. I'm a new ham. My videos were a big help, and I'm trying to decide between the IC7300 and the 991A. They are both excellent radios. Now, the reference station radio is the 7300. Now, what I'm trying to do is on HF have a complete station that I built out. I actually put my Yesu FTDX 3000 up on the shelf. It's right there. And I bought at a slight discount, and I mean slight discount, from ICOM a 7300. This is the reference station radio. So whenever I make a video about HF or something like that, I'm going to use this radio. So there is that factor. Now, 991A does have VHF, UHF, so there's that to consider too. I've always been in my life a Yesu guy. I've never had an ICOM HF rig before. I am absolutely blown away by the 7300. And now, which is better? The superheterodyne, the FT991, is decades of development of the superheterodyne in there. The direct sampling is the wave of the future, and it will push superhet receivers aside. But they're still relatively new, about 10 years in the market, okay? And I would say from an operational point of view, you won't be able to tell whether you're using one or the other, okay? But if you want to get a radio that matches the reference station, the 7300 is what I've got there for that, okay? A lot of people buy the 991. It's a very popular radio. Okay, let's see. This is from Perry Conrad, Victor Alpha 6, Papa Romeo Charlie. I viewed your video AD26 and setting up FLDG on the FTDX 3000 several times and followed along on my FTDX 3000 rig, but I must be missing something. When I send a CQ macro, the dialog prints out on the computer screen, the radio transmit lights up, and I hear fax tones. Well, fax-ish tones. But the power output meter shows 0 power output. You discuss various options in your radio for ring control settings. Yes, you have to go in and tell it that in the digital modes you should be transmitting on USB-D for digital. And you need to tell the radio that when you're doing digital, it gets the audio from the back panel. That's what's the problem here, okay? You have to, and I have a post on my website about it at dcasler.com. You can search in there for, just put 3000 into the search box, and it should take you to one that lists what setting that is. But that's the problem that you're having. That by default, the radio thinks it's going to get its audio through the microphone jack. And of course, for single sideband, that's the case. But when you're doing digital, you want to make sure it's getting the audio from the back panel. Okay, this is from Tim Williams, K8TLW. Thank you for all you do for us amateur radio operators. I am new to amateur radio and new to being a general, but I'm 72 years old. I'm 69. You're only 3 years older than I am. I had an end-fed dipole installed in the attic over the garage. Seems to work well. However, it is quite common that I can hear stations well, but the stations they are communicating with are often barely intelligible and very weak. And that is normal, because the stations you're listening to are geographically quite a ways apart. Let's say one is in Alabama and one is in Maine. And you can hear the one in Maine, but you can't hear the one in Alabama. That is normal for HF, okay? That's normal, normal behavior. Would it make sense for me to consider having a beam antenna with rotator installed in my attic? I'm running an ICOM 7300, 100 watts with no amplifier. Are you aware of any antenna models that might fit this bill? It says, thank you and best regards. Tim, I think what you've got is working. Sometimes you'll be able to hear both stations, other times you won't. That's just normal HF behavior because the propagation might be good to Maine and not be good to Georgia, okay, or vice versa, or something like that. So I think you're probably fine. I would be surprised if you've got room to put a beam antenna in your attic. On 40 meters, I'm assuming you're running 40 or 20 or something like that. The swing radius on a 20 meter beam is pretty big. Your dipole is fairly uniform in its radiation pattern. It has hints of nulls on either side, but given where it's put, you're probably doing okay. I always used to hate this when I was in the Air Force. We'd send something off for maintenance and it'd come back, no trouble found. NTF, no trouble found. I think it may be operating the way it's supposed to operate. If you think differently, send me a follow-up email. Okay, this one is from John Newell, WD0CRW. I viewed a short video regarding your amateur extra online training. I've started studying for my extra license using the 12th edition of the ARRL Extra Class Manual. Do you have a course that uses the 12th edition? Let's look, and I'm going to put us on screen here. Casler. No. KE0OG.net/training. Okay. Oh, let's go to extra here. Okay, and this is in fact the 12th edition. Okay, here are all the videos for the 12th edition. Now, I've left up the old videos because there are a lot of links to them. But here, if you will go to Ham Radio Answers, let's see, go to KE0OG.net/extra, and that'll take you to this page. And here are all the videos. You just click on them, it takes you directly into YouTube, and you can watch the video there. Keep this page bookmarked because YouTube is really bad about about videos that are part of a series. So that's what you need to do. So let's see. Let's just go. That would take me to the wrong place. Okay. So that's where to go for that. Let's see. Keith. Oh, shouldn't be showing that because it shows emails. With CW.com, you can operate CW over the internet. Okay. As author of CW.com, program that lets you make live Morse code QSOs over the internet, discontinued supporting the program, so with his permission, he's taken over. My CW.com website is called Morse Power. CW.com was written for Windows 98. Okay, that's 22 years ago. But also works on all versions, including Windows, presumably 10. Okay, so for those who are interested, KB6NU has a program called CW.com where you can use the modern internet to do what Samuel Morse had originally intended. That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, very good. The next one is from Jim Jewell. Dave, I met you at the Ham Club meeting in Olathe a few months ago. That's our local club, the Montrose Amateur Radio Club. We are actively pursuing our ham radio tech licenses and hope to have them before the end of the year. I was wondering if there is anyone or a class that you would provide info on how to use our Yesu FR60 radios. I don't have one. Radios are kind of alike, especially, if somebody else has a Yesu radio, they probably operate similarly. I suspect there are other club members that have the Yesu FR60 radios. It's a nice radio. They're going to have a special club meeting in December because the Christmas party got canceled. So the next club meeting is on the 18th, Thursday, and there is a Zoom meeting that you can come in on. Go to montrosehamradio.org for instructions for that, Jim. Okay. Musetown, no, I'm not interested in their paid sponsorship to show consumer products. This is from Harry Rundle. He's the one who has the antenna that I'm going to feature in tomorrow's video. Hope all is well. The sunspot cycle is showing its best today. Personally, after a terrible chaotic rain windstorm yesterday, I retuned my super antenna vertical for 17 meters. This Tuesday morning was one of many FT8 European contacts. I realize this antenna requires manual adjustment per band, and I will cover that. I don't mind the get off my butt and adjust the coil when it results in contacts from all over Europe. 73's Harry. Well, we'll learn more about that tomorrow. Another paid sponsorship. I don't think you guys would like me to tout household cleaners on this channel. This is from Dave Ivy, KE4EA. We recommend your introductory videos as part of our amateur extra training classes, which we offer without charge. I recently had a student ask the question related to your slide on digital decimation. Ben said we're throwing away one sample of the 1,000. However, the decimation in the sample, you're not throwing away one sample instead you're using one sample for every 1,000 that comes by. Yes, it's a divide by 1,000. Down converting, yeah, it's entirely possible I said it wrong. In more elaborate decimation routines, you can set extra methods options for what you would like to accomplish. Okay, yes, all kinds of things. Decimation removes samples, which we don't need. Okay, let me talk a little bit about decimation. It is a technique used in all digital software-defined radios. What you do is you sample a signal, okay, and it's at 28 megahertz. Okay, now you got all of these signals from 28 megahertz. Now, according to the sampling theorem, I forget the name that goes with the sampling theorem, Nyquist. According to the Nyquist sampling theorem, you have to sample at twice the maximum bandwidth. So that's 56 million samples per second. Now you've got this sample stream coming out, and you got a bunch of zeros so you can get down the accuracy that you want. The problem is that those will vary between two limits because you're only taking, say, 1.7 megahertz on that band, and you've got all these extra samples. Is there a way that you can bring that sample set down to baseband, to where the lowest sample is at 0 and the highest is at 1.7 megahertz? And the answer is absolutely. And it's very, very, very simple to do. The first umpteen digits of each sample will always read the same. 28 whatever. Okay? and they'll always read the same. So throw them away. And then what you have left are shorter words, and you've got 56 million samples per second. You don't need that for a baseband that's 1.7 megahertz wide. You need 3.4 million samples per second, not 56 million samples per second. So either throw out, what's that, a ratio of 1,000 to 1 or something like that. I don't know. Pick every thousandth sample. And then you have a sample stream that is now at the Nyquist rate for your baseband. I hope you guys are following this. And the thing that you note here, he talks about here how you can max, min, or mean, but actually that's not going to add much, because the Nyquist theorem states that if you sample at higher than the Nyquist rate, you can completely reconstruct the original underlying waveform. So you don't have to do the max min kind of thing. You just take every thousandth sample. And this is how the ICOM and modern software-defined radios that digitize right at the antenna, actually there's an amplifier in between, an RF amp, how they work through some super simple things. They down-convert the signal all the way to baseband. They don't actually to baseband because they still want to undergo another IF, but intermediate frequency, and then play some games in there. But that's basically all there is to decimation. Now this is an amateur extra class term, but if you're playing with digital radios and you're wondering how they're working, they're doing that front end with what's called decimation. Now decimate, the original Latin word decimate has two senses. And the sense that is being used here is reduced by 1/10. Decimate. Deci is a tenth of a meter. Decimeter is a tenth of a meter. Okay. Decimate means to destroy 1/10. But that term has been taken in modern English to mean destroy, totally destroy. So this is somewhere in between. They're cutting down the number of bits, they're cutting down the rates to something manageable. Okay, now, did that make any sense? I hope. I'm going to go back and peek at the comments here. Where is the live stream? Here we go. Okay, looks like, whoops. N8VOX has contributed to channel funds. Great to see you looking healthier, Dave. Know of my continued prayers for you. I really, really appreciate that, and I can feel it. I thank you very much. Okay, let's, and I missed a whole bunch of comments, I know, while I was looking at the lessons. A good topic for future video, base stations and specs for under 600 or 500. There are two radios that the super budget conscious should look at. First of all, I recommend new equipment for new hands, because then you're not buying someone else's problems. You got to remember, there's a reason they're getting rid of the radio. Okay? You know, I've kept my older radios, and I've got the Ten-Tac, which I bought in 1999, and I've got that, the Yesu FTDX 3000. I also have my little Yesu 747, which I used in the 80s. Was a very nice rig. Hello from Germany. Oh, okay, I'm talking about the two radios that are the less expensive radios. The Yesu FT450 and the ICOM 781. Now those are older radios, both of them. Probably 20-year-old technology. So they're superheads. But I would point out that although these are entry-level radios, a lot of people just enjoy them for years. My 747 was an entry-level radio and would compare directly with the 450. It's good for voice, CW, and digital. Doesn't have any fancy filters, no roofing filters, no third order harmonic whatever. You know, it's just a radio. And they work well. And while I would recommend you try and save your pennies and get an ICOM 7300, if the ICOM 781, which is about 60% the cost of the 7300, if that's what you've got in your budget, go ahead and get that. Understand that there's a good chance you will outgrow the radio in time, in 5 to 10 years. The 7300 is a lot harder to outgrow. Okay, DC to daylight radios are generally compromised, particularly the mobile-sized radios. Well, yeah, every radio's got its compromises, but the 991 seems to do a good job. New ham have Yesu 818 and just purchased the MFJ 1899T. Can it be used with the LDGZ 817 without using a counterpoise? Well, a counterpoise never really hurts anything. MFJ 1899T. MFJ 889. Let's see what we come up with. Oh. Where's the MFJ? No, let's just go directly to MFJ. MFJ Enterprises. Search MFJ 1889. Did not find any results. Did I copy that correctly? 1889T. Where to go? 1899T, not 1889, 1899. Oh, it's a portable antenna. I'd recommend putting a counterpoise on this. I really would recommend putting a counterpoise on this if you're going to use it with that radio. Let's see. Can it be used? No, I'd put the counterpoise on it. You can use the antenna, but set up the antenna the way it asks you to set it up before you try the tuner in there. And We the People has added $10 to channel funds. Thank you. Ishmael Samuel is here, J72IMS from Dominica, getting the HF 9100 Saturday. Very good. Okay. Yeah, I know everybody's getting tired of Zoom. Let's see, probably a good idea for everyone to make sure you have an electronic safe fire extinguisher in your shack. True. Glad to have found you live stream. Here we are, split into 10. Good explanation. Fantastic teacher. Thank you. FD747GXII, all the basic functions without bells and whistles to get lost in. You know, that radio cost me about $700, if I recall correctly. It was expensive at the time. And Heathkit offered it as their radio too, during Heathkit's last gasp. Yeah, I found it to be a good radio. I did a lot of digital on it, though it's not designed for it. Okay. Have you planned to resume the Saturday stream? No, it's not in my plans. We're going to do the Thursday. I know the Saturday is more convenient for people in Europe, and I'm very sorry, but of course this records, and you can watch the replay of this. Are you aware of the RF mute engaging on transmit when running the pan adapter board and SDR Uno? A little slow to engage. Well, when you transmit, it doesn't go through the stream. When you transmit on the 7300, it does not go through the stream that creates the little RF output on the back of the thing. Remember, we did a video some months ago where we put the board in there so that we could get a copy of the RF for the SDR Uno to show. And if you were to transmit with that, it's under a completely different stream, and you're not transmitting into the SDR. Chasing lower cost QRG, yeah, well, when I first got into ham radio, my parents bought me an HW16 kit to build and an HG10 kit to build and an antenna, HF9V, I think, or something like that. And I knew that it was a graduation present from college. And I knew my parents really didn't have a lot of money. My dad's been in the school business for a long time, teaching and administering. Of course, he died a year ago. But I knew they didn't have a lot of money, and they were showering it on me. And that was definitely entry-level ham gear. And with my own money, less than a year later that I'd saved up from working down at Blue Cross, I got a Yesu FR60, which was a very nice radio that I used for several years. Okay, the transmitter alignment is calling for something at 7.8 megahertz, 1,000 hertz tone modulated on it at 30%. Yes, any modern signal generator can generate that tone. If you've got really, really old boat anchor equipment, you won't be able to generate that tone, but 7.8 megahertz is the carrier frequency, and then there is on the signal generator an ability to modulate the signal and with just about anything. And what you want is AM modulation, 1,000 hertz tone, and 30% modulation. And you can set up your signal generator to do that. The DX SR8T is pretty cheap. QST was not terribly impressed with the Alenco HF rig. I know one person who has one. Optical Man Jeff, thank you very much for the $10 into channel funds, and thank you for keeping me in your prayers. Nevertheless, I own one, and it receives good audio reports on sideband. The radio works well overall. The DX SR8T is designed to be a very easy to operate HF rig. It really cuts down on all of the options. The reason for this is because none of the big manufacturers, Yesu, ICOM, Kenwood, or Alenco, make primarily ham radios. Ham radios are a sideline for all of them. They make commercial radios, they make military radios, they make receivers, very fine receivers for certain people who like to listen to things. And so you've got this problem that the other market's going to drive it. In the case of the HF radio, that radio was made for fishermen, people who are offshore, out of line of sight range, are going to use HF, and they've got to be told, put this button here, this button here, this button here, and then talk. And it's got to be that simple. And that's the heritage of that. Now, the Kenwood, ICOM, and Yesu have amateur lines. My airplane, the radio in my airplane that I talk to air traffic control, etc., is an ICOM radio. And so they're very active in that sort of thing. Okay, hello crew. Tom just received a second QSL card in the mail. That's exciting. I would recommend that all hands keep a few QSL cards on hand, because new hams are very excited by these and are going to want one. And if I'm somebody's first contact, I'll go ahead and initiate the sending of the QSL card. Let's see, 3 live streams going on right now. I'm sorry about that. Ready to buy an HF radio. Mag loop. Am I missing anything by buying the 1040? We're missing 80. But 80, it's going to be incredibly narrow on. Let's see, went portable. And, okay. An amazing antenna that was an inverted L. That's a classic antenna. I have an FT100, and even though it was made in 99, I think it's great. Cool. Okay, yeah. Now, there are 2 basic different kinds of mag loops. There are the kind that you have to be right at to tune for what frequency you're on. And those are for portable operation. Or they're the kind that'll handle 100 watts that you tune remotely. And you can put it up on the roof and get it outside. And mag loops are like any other antenna. They do well being outside. And height matters. Okay, let's go back and answer a couple more questions here. Okay, that's the decimation. Let's see. This is from Joe, KD8CAP. I'm 90% 18-wheel mobile. I mainly use 17, 20, and 40. When I am on 40, my LED light above the dash starts to flicker. It's got an RFI problem. I've installed a choke in line with the antenna with no change. The antenna is mounted on a mirror stud on the door on a 2020 Freightliner. Could this be caused by poor ground between the door cab frame? Possibly. More likely is that the wire that leads up to the LED light above the dash is long enough that it picks up stray RF when you're on 40. You might try putting some ferrite beads or clamp-on ferrite beads around that cable under the dash. I know it's a real pain to get under the dash, but if you can get up there and put a couple of those on there, it may help. Also, put ferrite beads right where the coax gets to the antenna and put them again down where the coax enters your radio. That's what I would suggest. And you can, of course, install a ground strap between the door cab and the frame. I know Lou, my friend Lou French, had to do that with his mobile station. Okay, we got a couple more here. Ken M1CYR, so from Great Britain. Sorry to hear you've been ill. Just watched your 26th November. It was very good. So now I subscribe to your channel. Well, thank you. Welcome aboard. Being aboard makes you an Augie. Now I realize that an Augie is a Cornish pastry, but Augie also comes from OG, and is the followers of OGs are Augies. Okay. This is from Byung Yu, AB1K. This is not a question, but rather an inquiry. Watched a few of your videos on the subject of CW training. I never finished that series. I'm a new ham, just got licensed, starting to look for CW trainer. Get the G4FON trainer. Look up G4FON on YouTube. You'll find it. Making a long story short, I could not find one that satisfies my needs and ended up making one for myself. And I wish to get your thought on it if I have done it okay. If you permit me, I will send you one with an overview for your review. I believe it has a few features you might be interested in, such as numeric analysis of the user's keying input, as well as passively correcting the keying timing before it is delivered to the transmitter. Well, sure. I'll take a look at that. Let me just send him a note. Sure. Yep. Okay, and we'll take a look. That might be something that people can really use. Okay. Oh, that's a long one. The bias T. Oh, he wants me to be a guest on his podcast. Okay, well, I'll take a look at that. Okay, let's take a look at more comments here. And we'll wrap up for the evening. Let's see, from Orlando. What do you suggest for an antenna in a third floor apartment? If you have a balcony, MFJ makes a balcony antenna that uses their ham sticks, and that would work. Another thing that you might like would be a mag loop, which you can put out there. If you don't have a balcony, you can put a mag loop up against a window. Now, some windows in modern high-rise buildings have got metal films on them, so that may not work really well, but you can try those. Let's see. M.K. Young said, I started reading the story of the Great American Flying Broomstick. In certain parts, I laughed till I almost cried. Yeah, well, it's kind of intended to be funny. For those who don't know, I am an author, and I've got some science fiction books. If you look me up on Amazon, I've got several books up there. So, let's see. Space is limited. Trying to figure out which antenna to buy. If you've got a backyard and not very much space, try a vertical. Otherwise, try getting, like the 17754 is only 42 feet long, and it'll give you 40 and 20. Half of 40 and 20. Mag loops are sold by DX Engineering. Okay. Zero Mazzoni mag loop antennas. I'll have to look at that. Yeah, they are pricey. In order to get 100 watts, you've got a big, hairy capacitor on that thing. Okay, wire radials on a silver bullet laying on the ground or elevated 3 feet. Is there any reason to elevate if they're going to be under a quarter to half wave in height? If you get it up around 10 feet, you want to elevate them. If it's... mine are laying on the ground. Right now I'm using a paracord monkey fist with a steel ball core and a length of paracord to sling antennas in the air, but it gets stuck. Do you have a better recommendation? Yeah, I've had things get stuck doing that too. Some people actually use bow and arrow to get the thing all the way over the tree, although of course that can be dangerous. Techie Fan loves the informative ham videos. There's also, Bill Lynch points out, the CW Ops Academy. No balcony. Okay, well, you can try it like a mag loop up against the window. Pick up some of the polyline used by Tree Guys, very slick, doesn't snag. This explanation on SFI and serial number was good. Good. I get that idea here. If anybody has something that they are doing that they think's really interesting, they can send me photographs of. Maybe I can turn it into a video. So let me know. Okay. Yes. Well, we are at our closing time, and I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate your thoughts, your prayers, your best wishes for my recovery from this little hiccup in my health career. And I just love you guys. I really do. And so we will meet together next week at same time, same place at 7 officially, but we'll start chattering at 6:45 on YouTube. And absolutely free, no advertising on this. Of course, if you watch the replay, there will be advertising. Okay, so thank you all for your interest. Thank you for contributing to the chat revenue, which contributes to channel funds, enables me to do things like get antennas and stuff like that. I do have one more antenna. I have the DX Commander. It's half built, and it's probably going to end up waiting until spring, but it's coming along. So I'm going to say 73, and we will talk to you next week.